Welcome to the Mid Week Tease with me, Adelle Onyango, where I share some random and not too random thoughts on things. And in this episode, I want to talk about something that I think many women spend years, even decades, trying to untangle ourselves from, which is the idea of being a good woman. Not a good person, a good woman. Those are two very different things. And I have been reflecting on this after a recent conversation I had with Nana Dakoa. She's the author of The Sex Lives of African Women, an incredible book. Her recent book is called Seeking Sexual Freedom. And she was a guest on For Mannerless Women last week. And we were talking about freedom, pleasure, womanhood, self-definition. And I just kept finding myself returning to one question, which is, what if many women are living by a contract that they never consciously agreed to, right? And some of the things in that contract are you have to be accommodating, be understanding, be selfless, be agreeable, be forgiving, be easy, be grateful. And then there are the don'ts. Don't be too loud. Don't be too ambitious. Oh, I fucking hate that one. Don't be too sexual. What the hell? Don't be too angry. Don't be too much, And this contract is so loosely ended, the clause that has what you get, the reward, the compensation, right? So it kind of goes a bit like, if you're good enough for long enough, you will be loved, you'll be chosen by a man, you'll be accepted, you'll be safe. I think that's a lie. I think that's a big lie. And Nana is the one who put it in words for me. And I was like, yes, it is a lie. That contract and what it promises you if you adhere by the rules is a lie. How many women do you know right now? I'm pretty sure you can count quite a few who have done everything, quote unquote, right by society. And life is still breaking their hearts. Patriarchy is still stomping on them. You're the good woman and you still get hurt. What you were promised never arrives. So let's go back to the beginning. The first time we learned to be good. I don't think most girls are explicitly told don't be yourself, because it would be like, what? That's strange, right? I think what happens is something like that rides underneath. We're taught which versions of ourselves are acceptable. So the quiet part of you, the mature part of you, the responsible part of you, the helpful part of you, the part of you that doesn't create problems or ask for too much, the part of you that keeps the peace and makes life easier for everyone else. Those are the parts that we're told are acceptable. And so before we know it, we begin editing ourselves, right? So we learn which emotions get us comfort. We adapt, What do we do that ends up with us being punished? Which parts of us are celebrated? Which parts of us are treated like an inconvenience? And then we become experts at managing other people's comfort, right? By reducing who we are. Think about how many young girls were being praised for being so mature for their age. Hey! Instead of just letting girls be girls and be young and be their full selves, we're pushing them into what versions of them are acceptable. And what we're teaching them is how to abandon themselves, right? And people praise you for it. And then it becomes part of your identity. And that's the part where it gets tricky, because it stops being this thing that you do. It becomes who you are. And now everything you want to do and how you see the world is filtered through that identity. Are we together? So things like, are you able to hold up a boundary? You start asking, can I really say no? Can I really leave this relationship? Can I really disappoint my family? Can I really ask for more? Can I really choose myself? Can I change my mind? Can I want this big life for myself? Can I buy land? Can I build my own house? Can I buy a new car? You know what I mean? And for so many women, because of that subtle conditioning that we went through as girls, the answer feels like no. And it's not because we don't want to, but it's because choosing ourselves feels like becoming a bad woman. That part, you know? And so it's not that we're afraid of making the wrong decision. No. We're afraid of what people would think of us if we make the decision that's right for us. Let me tell you, as my therapist says, self-disclosure. Let me share some of my experiences. Two things. The first one is I've caught myself, and this is even recently, because there's ways in which this conditioning still lives within you, even when you're awakened and self-aware, and you've got to catch it. I recently had to put up a boundary with somebody who was completely toxic in my life. And I had to choose myself in a situation with them. And I remember being so scared of doing it. And when I was unpacking, because I couldn't understand where this fear of choosing myself was coming from. I just couldn't understand it. And I sat with myself and I was unpacking. And I landed at, well, I don't want people to think I'm bad. And I was just like, who the heck is sitting watching you and tracking all your moves and saying, oh, she's 90% good. She's 90% bad. You know what I mean? First and foremost, people are so busy with their lives, they're not even checking for you like that. That's one. Number two, how does choosing yourself make you a bad woman? And this was like earlier this year, guys. This was not a long time ago. This was earlier this year. And I had to be like, ooh, there are parts of me that are still trying to be a good woman, and that ain't right. That's number one. Number two, a couple of years ago, I set a boundary with a family member, and they were talking to me in a way that was very disrespectful. I don't like people shouting at me. I think as adults, unless you have a hearing problem, why are we shouting? And so when people shout, I disconnect. Like, I'm just not there. And I literally said, this conversation, I'm not being heard, and I'm going to exit. I'm going to hang up, etc. And so that's what I did. And immediately they took to their social media to say some people are so selfish. In that moment, regardless of, what was being spoken about, the way it was being done was a way that was not conducive for me, and I did not like it, and it's disrespectful to me. So I chose myself. It comes off as selfish to people because you're not the only one who has been conditioned to view choosing yourself as a woman as a bad thing, as you becoming a bad woman. Other people are going to see it like that. Do you know what I mean? And it goes back to this choosing to the conditioning that we experienced from a young age that then taught us that choosing yourself as a woman feels like becoming a bad woman, because a good woman was a woman who reduced herself. We're not always afraid of making the wrong decision. We're afraid of what people will think of us if we make the decision that's right for us. So I'm pretty sure you can relate with this. You've seen women, and maybe it's you, right? I've probably done this in my life. Stayed in relationships because leaving would make you look selfish. Staying in jobs because quitting would make you look ungrateful. Staying exhausted because resting makes them look lazy. I literally just saw a TikTok of this woman. She divorced her husband, and she was talking about some of the most beautiful moments she's having now in her life, where she's living alone, is that she can relax on the couch without anxiety. When she was married, as soon as she would hear her husband clunking all the way to the front door, and she was relaxing on the couch, she would get up and look like she's making things and doing things, because rest was seen as laziness. Hey, anyway, We've probably seen women, you've probably done this, stay silent because speaking up would make you look difficult, or abandon your dreams because pursuing them makes you look like you're being unrealistic. It's landing. I want you to sit with this question. What has being a good woman cost you? Not what it has given you. What has it cost you? Chances are, and this is true for very many women, it's cost them their voice, it's cost them joy, it's cost them rest, creativity, years of their life, years spent waiting, performing, years spent living for everybody else. And this life thing is so fleeting. And you've got to realize that self-abandonment for women often disguises itself as virtue. We're told it's very noble to sacrifice, and sometimes it is. Many times it's not. We're told giving is beautiful. Sometimes it is. Many times it's not. We're told putting others first is love. But what happens when you disappear in all of those things? You know what I mean? Like you, who you truly are, just disappears. Everybody else is thriving because you're just there pouring into their cups. But nobody has noticed that your cup has been empty for years. 4 years. And I think most women eventually have a moment, thankfully, where the spell breaks. It could be heartbreak. It could be divorce. It could be grief. For me, mine was grief, then divorce. And which is why I look back and I'm like, those two things, in a twisted way, such a blessing. It could be burnout. It could be betrayal, illness. Moving like this, trying to be a good woman is going to make you sick. My sister, it is going to make you sick. This moment comes and slaps you in the face, and then you start realizing you have spent years living for everybody else except yourself. You have built a life that is for everyone else, and it's not yours. You know what I mean? And then you realize I followed the rules in the contract of being a good woman, and it's not fulfilling. I didn't get what the contract said my compensation would be. I still got disappointed. I was still left. I was still hurt. I wasn't chosen. You know what I mean? And you can feel overwhelmed when that realization hits, but I want you to remember something. That realization is the beginning of freedom. That realization is the beginning of freedom. But here's why I think, fear checks into this story. Many of us think freedom is something we automatically want. And yet, when you look at existential fears, I think there are about 4 of them that are loudly written and talked about. One of them is actually the fear of freedom. And it's not because freedom is bad, but it's because freedom comes with responsibilities. It sounds beautiful until you realize that it asks you to choose. And choosing means responsibility. So what are you choosing? Suddenly, there's nobody telling you who to be anymore. You have to decide. You have to choose. Suddenly, there isn't one correct way to be a woman. You have to choose the correct way for you. Suddenly, there isn't one path to happiness. You have to choose your own path. And that can really feel terrifying. And so I think a lot of women cling so tightly to the identity of a good woman is because it offers certainty, a false one, but it's comfortable because there's a script, there's a map, there's a checklist, there's company, so many women are doing it, there's a set of instructions, there's community. You know what I mean? But freedom removes that script. And then you're confronted with all of these questions that you're like, okay, do I have the answers, right? Questions like, do I really want marriage? Even kids, do I really want these kids? Do I really want that career? Do I actually believe this? Do I actually want this type of life? And those questions are scary because they shake the foundation of your identity. But trust me, once you answer them, the foundation becomes solid. Solid. And still on fear, there is another fear that enters the room after the fear of freedom. There's a fear of judgment. Because the moment you start choosing yourself, somebody is going to have an opinion. Trust me, babes. Somebody's going to have an opinion. And the moment you stop following the script, someone is going to be disappointed. And I don't think it's fear of failure that we fear when we're on this road of unlearning being the good woman. I think there's a very potent fear of judgment, a fear of being called selfish. Like I told you, it does come. Or being called difficult, dramatic, intimidating, too much. She's a bitch. She's mannerless. Oof, I love that last one. But here's what I've learned, right? Every woman that I deeply admire has disappointed someone, honestly. And I have my true norths. Even internally, when we're doing strategy. So in November, we do strategy for my individual work and strategy for this network that we have, Legally Clueless Africa. And so when we're doing my strategy, we're in the boardroom, we have our whiteboard, we're mapping things out. I have my true norths. And these are women who I admire for either how they've built their business, how they conduct interviews, how they do production, for different reasons, right? All of those women have disappointed people. All of them have set social media ablaze. And I don't, when you choose yourself, you will do that. Last year, was it end of last year? It felt like there was intense anger towards my choices from misogynists. Because when you choose yourself as a woman and when you decide, I'm not going to sign this contract to be a good woman, it's null and void, I'm going to define womanhood for myself, very many people are going to be disappointed. Friends, family, general public. Every woman who has chosen herself, who has left, who has spoken up, who has changed direction, who has built something different, at some point, somebody was unhappy with them. Nobody becomes fully themselves without disappointing people. I do not think freedom and universal approval coexist. They can't. Eventually, you have to choose one. And so I feel like we need a different question. The question should not be, am I being a good woman? The question should be, am I being true to myself? Because maybe the goal isn't to be a good woman. I really don't think it should be. Please, erase that goal now after you've listened to this episode. The goal should be to be whole. To be a woman whose life reflects her own values, a woman who knows what she wants, a woman who allows herself to evolve, a woman who can change her mind, who can disappoint people and, keep it pushing. A woman who can rest, God damn it, can we just rest? A woman who can dream and who can define womanhood for herself. Because, and it comes back to something Nana said for Mannerless Women last week, there's no universally correct way to be a woman. It's not a one size fits all. You have to define it for yourself. But to do that, you need to abandon that ship of being a good woman. Abandon it quickly. You're going to get sick, babes. You're going to get sick. Your health and your life is at risk. This is serious. And so the older I get, the less interested I am in being a good woman. I wrote about this on my Instagram. I said, I have no interest in being a good woman. What I am and will always be is a free woman with a healthy pinch of wickedness. Dudes, that's who I am. All right? And when I say a free woman, I'm not saying free from responsibility. Free enough to take responsibility of my own life. I'm free enough to choose. I'm free enough to change. I'm free enough to disappoint people, by the way. I'm free enough to tell the truth. I'm free enough to become myself. Ugh. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this episode, it's to abandon ship. Stop trying to be a good woman. It is going to kill you. And if you have connected with this episode, especially this episode, share it with another woman who you love. Thanks for listening to the Mid Week Tease, a Legally Clueless Africa production. Episodes go out every Wednesday, and you can learn more about us by going to legallycluelessafrica.com.